for the establishment of friendship on a firmer and more lasting basis,
for the promotion of brotherly love
and kind feeling,
for the mutual benefit and advancement
of the interest of those with whom we sympathize
and deem worthy of our regard.
We have resolved to form a fraternity,
believing that thus we can most successfully accomplish our object.
Pike at Indiana State began in the late 1970s. The fraternity had been trying to come to this campus for a long time, but there had been resistance to, as was the case on many campuses, resistance to additional chapters. Existing chapters felt threatened by competition, and so new chapters coming onto college campuses was always a struggle, and it had been that way at Indiana State. But they got a new Greek advisor in the mid-1970s, and she had the notion that if she could bring in a new group with a commitment to more traditional values, that she might be able, by peer pressure, to affect the behavior of the others that she'd been unable to affect through education and discipline and other programs. The woman was Shelley Sutherland, and she contacted PIKES and asked if we would be interested in coming to campus under a very strict regimen that included a commitment to academics, that included a commitment not to use alcohol in recruitment, to treat women with respect instead of as second-class citizens, as had often been the case, and a number of other things that were really traditional values, but which had sort of lost their way in the 50s and 60s. We made that commitment. She helped us, and it was a long effort, but it worked. We came with the notion that we wanted to build a fraternity based on ethical principles for living. And so we made a commitment from day one that we were not going to use alcohol at recruitment. That was unheard of at the time. The way you recruited at the time was throw a big party with a lot of beer and get people to sign things, and we said we weren't going to do that. That was laughed at, scorned by most of the fraternities that were here at the time. They were convinced that that sort of approach would not work, that people would not join without the big parties, and so they started mocking us and calling us the milk and cookie boys because we wouldn't use alcohol at recruitment or major social events. And our guys, after resenting that for a little while, decided we're going to own this. That is what we're about. And so for them, it became a point of pride. There was a national magazine on fraternities and sororities in the early 1980s that did stories about chapters around the country. And one of their lead stories was on this chapter. And the cover of the magazine and the head of the article about this chapter was a bunch of guys in Pike jackets, satin jackets, holding cookies and beer mugs with milk in it, and that's when the image stayed. And they still use it.
And it stuck.
It stuck.
Perfect.
At the time that we came here, fraternity grades were not that good. It was not an emphasis. And we said, that's the reason we're in college. And that became a primary emphasis. That also sort of lent itself to that image of, the milk and cookie boys that were, very straight in their outlook on things. But we focused hard on academics. And over time, that has affected the system. Now, there were other things that affected it too, as others began to realize how important that was, and that a college degree 50 years ago assured your success. A college degree today means you might have a chance to interview someplace, and you've got to prove yourself in the classroom.
I think another big advantage about having, such a vast brotherhood is even for the academic side with classes. I would purposefully, hey, let's the three of us team up together because, I knew that we had some of the same values and work ethic, and we could knock out the project together that way too.
I am an honor scholar personally, and
I study a lot. I put in the work. I like doing things. I'm not necessarily all about the grade. I'm all about putting in my best effort and seeing the grade as a result of that effort. I want whatever assignment I'm doing to be done to the best of my ability, and I hope that by me doing that, it kind of inspires other people to do things their way too.
Becoming a quote-unquote scholar, has been a struggle for me, and then eventually, I was able to overcome that, and now I'm actually helping other Pikes and other people around campus with their studies. So, yeah.
Well, I think the main reason you're in college is to get your degree, and so if scholarship isn't the lead of our motto, then we're doing something wrong, because once you achieve those grades, those other things are going to come to you.
The community service would be a big part of it. Trying to set an example of responsible behavior, even for kids that don't come to Indiana State, by things that we do with outreach to the high schools and junior highs and elementary schools, to show them that college kids can be responsible and they're not just the stereotype of let's go have a party. That's kind of a secondary effect of the things that we're doing, but I do think it is an effect when children can see responsible behavior in older young people as well.
So through Pikes here at State, I felt like I was really able to develop a lot of, my leadership style. I was able, to kind of try in the safe environment here, how to manage and lead different, events. And then that helped me then develop kind of to, where I am today.
I've been involved in a number of leadership positions in our community, and those stemmed from my undergraduate involvement as well as through the international fraternity. Service has been a big part of my life, so giving back to the community and being an active member in Terre Haute as well as on campus and serving others has been an important value for me.
This fall semester, I helped raise money for the Bethany House, a local homeless shelter. And for me at least, being able to, work volleyball concessions and then see the fruits of our labor. We bought a lot of toys for kids who, for Christmas, that weren't able to have that opportunity. So being able to find the opportunities necessary to make a change and then actually committing to them, that's important.
The last time that any student organization other than Pike won the all sports title at Indiana State was 1979. They've won the all sports title for 40 years straight. And that's the intramural competition.
And as a coach now, coaching two different sports, one of which is baseball and then volleyball, getting kids, even college kids and stuff like that to be willing to sacrifice a little bit in playing sports and everything. You may not be the best athlete, but nobody can outwork you. I mean, you can have that mindset. And I think of someone like me, I wasn't going to surprise anyone with my athletic ability, but if I was going to go out there and play sports, I was going to have fun, because that's one of the best parts about it. But at the same time, I'm going to compete. And I think getting that competitive edge here, there's a pride, at least whenever I was in, and I'm sure it's still the same now because not much changes over the years. There's a pride that every time you walk out there and you have Pi Kappa Alpha across your shirt and you're going on the floor, you're not only just representing the athletic side, you're representing your entire chapter. And so there's a sense of pride that you're going to go out there and give your best, but have fun in the process and gain just another opportunity to gain brotherhood.
There was just sort of a general rowdiness to the system before we came. It was known for parties and outrageous behavior and irresponsible behavior, dangerous behavior, and treating women badly and treating new members badly. And we just said, we respect everybody, and we may not agree with everybody, but we respect everybody, and they're entitled to be treated with respect. And it was sort of an alien notion to say, we're not going to haze people, because that was rampant on the campus at the time. And our attitude was, if I think enough of you that I want to call you my brother, why would I want to humiliate you or hurt you or embarrass you? It just didn't fit for us. We said we're going to do those things differently. We were laughed at for a lot of that stuff for a while, but we stuck with it, and I'm glad that we did.
I think respect is something that is earned and not given, but it is certainly appreciated when it is given. And by being a gentleman, you open yourself up to other people in a way that allows you to gain new opportunities by just treating people nicely. And if people see that you're respecting them, chances are they're going to respect you back, and then you kind of build trust, and it plays off each other in that way.
In today's society and everything, and as we've seen it continue to move on, I think that being a gentleman goes a long way when you're trying to find a career, when you're trying to find a relationship, when you're trying to find just your place in society. Being just a good person and everything, and respecting all walks of life is huge.
Well, I don't think nationally our values are the same, because we have the same precepts that underpin the fraternity nationally and in each of the chapters. The question is, like any organization that is spread over a big geographic area, how closely they align themselves with those values. Every fraternity has similar values. They're ethics-based. The question is, do they live them, and are they able to live them? And we've been able to do that. We're fortunate. PIKES nationally is a very strong organization. We've got 230 chapters, and it's got a really strong professional staff that does a lot of good quality educational programming that focuses on ethical behavior. So we get that reinforcement. All of the chapters get that reinforcement. But it does make a difference what sort of advisement you have in each local chapter. It's like when I was in Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts have a great program, but if you've got a bad scoutmaster, you're probably not going to have a good experience. And the same is true with the fraternity. It's got a great set of principles, it's got great programming and great staff, but it requires on-the-ground advisement support for it to work consistently through the years. It's kind of like coaching. You can have a team, you can have a group of guys that are very talented, and they can do a pretty good job playing basketball. But if you got a really good coach to go with them, they can be a huge success. And this chapter has been fortunate that from day one, the National Fraternity and Shelley Sutherland on this campus insisted that alumni who shared the values of the organization be involved and make the commitment of their time to stay involved, so that over time the organization would maintain those values and would be strong and would thrive. And we've been lucky in that regard. We've had some tremendous alumni support, many of them who worked at the university, others in the community, but that has made a big difference. It also provides continuity through the years. When guys come back, like today, there's an alum of the chapter who's back on campus. He was president when he was an undergraduate. He's bringing his son here to be a student at Indiana State just because of the tremendous experience he had and the alumni advisors that he worked with. And that matters. It makes a big difference, and we've been lucky in that regard.
For the establishment of friendship on a firmer and more lasting basis.
For the promotion of brotherly love.
And kind feeling.
For the mutual benefit and advancement.
Of the interest of those with whom we sympathize.
And deem worthy of our regard.
We have resolved to form a fraternity.
Believing that, thus we can most successfully accomplish our object.